The conversation today was going to be about bunt defense. But before all that, before I go into all that, obviously, guys, if it was up to us and it was for everyone's benefit, we would be in the facility. I've got off the phone Santa Clara County twice the last couple of days and basically tried to fight for our ability to stay open multiple ways, probably more ways than you could even imagine, and got shut down basically at every pass. I kind of felt like we had our own little bubble here at South Bay, but it's not going to work. So for the time being, we're going to have to go through these Zooms, get our information, our chalk talks out through this. Before we still do our practices on Sunday. I'm working on another field to be able to get us some additional on-field practice time on the weekends, potentially on the weekdays too. So fingers crossed that all that works out. This too also will be a good reminder for you guys about your calendars. We're not going to be hounding you guys, I'd say, for at least the next week or so about those calendars. But I would say get back on them and start logging your information. Some of you high school guys might not be totally well versed in the calendars, but we'll need to find a way to get you guys on those as well, and basically inputting what it is you guys are doing on a daily basis. So, like I said, less than ideal. This is a little bit different classroom environment than I'm used to. It's going to be a little bit tougher than when we were upstairs doing the chalk talk, but I still think we can get some productive information out, start helping build some high IQ baseball players, and if and when we get a chance to get back on the field and compete, we got a better sense of what we're doing. So I don't know, coaches, do you have anything you wanted to add to start? All right, I'm going to take that as a no. Okay, all good. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go through bunt defenses. Specifically, this first one, I'm going to go through bunt defense with a runner on first, okay? With a runner on first base. So I will put our runner here. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see colors. That's supposed to be purple, but I don't know what you guys are seeing. But we have a runner at first base. I'm going to use red to signify our players. Pretty simple. We don't really have to talk much about positioning of a pitcher. We don't really need to talk too much about positioning of a catcher. Obviously, with our runner on first base and bunt defense, our first baseman will be holding our runner on. Okay. Our middle infielders will be playing double play depth. Okay. Just a reminder of our double play depth. It's generally our furthest underfeed. Whatever underfeed you can give, that is going to be your double play depth. With that being said, in a situation where we know or we're assuming a team is going to bunt, this is something where our second baseman might normally play up the middle a little bit more in his double play depth. In a bunt situation, we're going to shade him just a hair over to the first base side just to help defend that bunt and even potentially be in a backup role. Our third baseman, pretty easy. He's going to play even with the bag or even in front of the bag. Okay, even with the bag or in front of the bag. If he plays in front of the bag, that will be dictated by speed of runner. If we think that the batter runner is going to be a green or a double green, we're probably going to want to play in front of that bag a little bit. Outfield coverage stays the same. So we would play straight away in left field, straight away in center, straight away in right. Okay. First things first, most important part of our bunt D is our communication. Okay, our communication. So our communication will start behind the plate, and we'll start with our catcher. Catcher, you don't have to come out in front like a first and third situation and yell eyes up, but it's something where you want to make sure that you're grabbing players' attention and make sure that you're helping direct traffic. So the first person the catcher is going to talk to is going to be his pitcher. Okay, he's going to look at his pitcher. He's going to remind his pitcher that he's going to have the first base side of the infield on a bunt coverage. Okay, after that, our catcher will then communicate with our third baseman, basically telling him, hey, me and you on a bunt, we're going to switch on a bunt. Meaning if our third baseman has to come up and field a bunt, our catcher will then move over to third base and now defend third base in case that runner from first wants to try to take an extra 90 feet. So that's the first communication, our catcher to pitcher, our catcher to third baseman. Second part of that is our pitcher to first baseman. So our pitcher basically will just look at our first, tell him, hey, I have this side on a bunt, and remind our first baseman that he has a hard bunt, okay, that he's coming up and vacating the bag on any hard bunt that our pitcher won't be able to get to. Coach Simon, you want to add to the communication at all? I got to unmute you, bro. All right.
Don't be afraid to communicate it and make it early. Do it early, and then, do it often.
Okay. From there, one other thing we'll do, we're trying to gather information. Okay. After we've communicated, we're going to gather information. Couple things we want to know. One, the speed of the runners matter. Not only does the speed of the runner on first matter, but the guy at home plate, speed of him matters as well. So that's information that we have to make sure that we're gathering. Another way of gathering information is picking off. As soon as a leadoff runner gets to first base, make sure that we are picking off, because potentially that hitter is going to give it away. Another way hitters give it away is their location in the batter's box. One thing that we stopped teaching with our bunters is moving up in the box prior to the pitch. We've started to kind of teach you guys moving up in the box as you go into your bunting. But that's one dead giveaway, is if you start reading hitters' feet up in the box. Another thing you can read from a hitter, choking up on the bat. That's one thing that's really another good indication of a guy thinking about bunting or squaring around. Choking up on the bat, moving up in the box are two pretty good ones. I know the ones I like to use outside of those, which I think are pretty elementary. I like looking at coaches. I will stare at coaches and watch them give signs. A lot of times how they give their signs, whether they do it a little bit slower when they're giving stuff and a little bit faster when nothing is on. So that potentially is another indication that something's up. And then one that you guys probably understand is a hitter's body language. A lot of teams, depending on situation, kids don't like bunting. You guys don't always like bunting. So I know I've been in position where I've given bunt signs, and I know that the eye roll from a hitter or the body language of slumped shoulders is a dead giveaway that we are bunting in that situation. So just from our perspective, that's something obviously we have to make sure that we control. We can't be giving up our signs based on our body language because we're not happy with bunting, but something that I'm definitely looking for as a coach, some of this information that we can gather from the other team. So that's one reason that we pick. A lot of times you'll see guys slide their hands up the bat on a pick. As soon as a pitcher makes a move, they slide their hands up the bat, or they move their feet up in the box. Both obviously really good indications that a bunt's coming. Anything, coaches, you guys want to add?
When you see that, if they do slide their hands, it's important that you let them know. So let each other know he's bunting right there. Or, yeah, we're seeing hands. Or, no, he didn't see hands. And then that way you can be on your toes. But communicate throughout that whole thing.
Yeah, just to kind of go off of the communication thing, it's just another thing we spent the last 2 weeks when we're on field. We spent the last 2 weeks practicing our talk before a pitch. This is just another thing that we could add to our toolbox when it comes to communicating what's going to happen for every single pitch. So running with no outs, running on first, always a great time, great idea to talk about a bunt. Same thing with second base, no outs. All right, good time to run a bunt. So it's just another thing that you could talk about in the infield, which is kind of why we go crazy sometimes when you guys are dead quiet out there, because there's so much for us to talk about.
Yeah, and just I know Coach Vart talked about it already, but don't be afraid to mix in a pick, especially in a big situation where you're not sure if they're going to bunt late in the game. A pick can kind of give it away. A hitter tends to square a little early, especially in a pressure situation. So if you're unsure, you can always mix in a pick, especially lefties. We have an advantage there. But just pick over to first base, pick to second. Hitter's most likely going to give it away.
A question to our coaches, just for the most part, my question is, would you want to hold a little bit longer, or would you want to kind of pick as soon as you kind of get set? Or is there a preference for you guys?
I would probably hold a little bit longer, just to give myself more time to read it.
Cool.
So with that, moving on to our pitcher, the next most important thing that our pitcher can do is throw a strike. I know, for us in a pitching perspective, being down 1-0 in that situation versus being able to throw a strike and get ahead and collect outs, there's a big difference there. Now, kind of to Coach Tommy's point, even adding on to what Coach Schaaf said, we need to be quick to the dish. Now, as a lefty, I might be able to high kick and pick over to first to gather a little bit more information. But the bottom line is when it's time to deliver the baseball and it's time to throw a strike to the plate, we've got to be quick to the plate. I know if our righties are using a high leg kick or even like a middle hybrid, now potentially you take away the bunt and allow a team to start trying to steal bases instead of having to, give up an out. So your quickness to the plate is going to be huge too. For pitchers, just adding on, even if you're not a pitcher, it's always good to have an understanding. As a pitcher, we want to work from a 1.3 seconds and below to the plate. Okay, 1.3 seconds and below. So generally for you guys, that's going to be a slide step to be able to make sure that we get that baseball there. Anything over 1.3, you're leaving yourself really open to the stolen base. So slide steps in this situation, and then ultimately your biggest focus at that point is going to be to deliver a strike. So quick to the plate, deliver a strike. Now that being said, if we're looking to collect outs in this situation, if we're looking to pound the zone, we want to work up in the zone a little bit, right? We want to encourage guys bunting at the top of the zone, hopefully at the same time, making a mistake and bunting the ball up in the air where nobody's going to have the ability to advance. So being able to throw that elevated fastball in certain situations where it's enticing enough for a hitter to go after it, to make an offer at it bunting, but at the same time, we're not too far out of the zone where now we're getting behind 1-0 and 2-0 in certain situations. So throwing that strike is huge. With that being said, a lot of times hitters bunt through bunts, right? They're trying to bunt. Maybe they're trying to be a little too fun and they bunt through. That's where our catcher is automatic backdoor to first base. Okay, so any catcher listening right now, make sure that you are noting that. Anytime there is a bunt through, we are backdooring to either first or second base, depending on situation. So that's an auto backdoor. Infielders and outfielders, you got to be aware of that too. So our outfielders has to be aware that if there is a bunt through, that we are going to have a pick play here, and our right fielder has to do a really good job of backing up. But outside of that, let's pretend our pitcher's quick to the plate. Our pitcher delivers a strike. The opposing team gets their bunt down. Okay, so one thing that I've seen as a mistake from our pitchers is not taking enough depth when they go to try to field these baseballs. Instead of delivering the pitch and working horizontally to field bunts, a lot of times our pitcher delivers it and they crash hard toward home plate. We're trying to stay away from this angle and be more horizontal after delivering that pitch. We want a lot of depth. It is a lot easier for us to create depth early and then crash in to make a play than crash in and then try to work our way back and create depth. A lot of times that's when you see a pitcher start running after a baseball up the line a little bit. Anytime you see a pitcher's numbers to home plate where he's running up the line, this base runner is going to be safe. They're both going to be safe. So our depth very much matters here. Okay. So getting that depth, our first baseman will be on the bag unless he sees a hard bunt. If we see a bunt past our pitcher's depth, then our first baseman is going to vacate and field that bunt. Okay. Other than that, we're hoping our pitcher is good enough athletic enough where he can bounce off the mound, field his spot, and either get a lead runner at second base or be able to get an out. Okay. I would say that when you start talking about lead runners and backside runners, it's great to get the front side guy. It is great to get this runner going from first to second. But the most important thing you could say of this whole deal is when we are in a bunt situation, get an out. When in doubt, get an out. Okay, our catcher's going to have the best view of it. If he thinks we have a red runner here, we see a slip, a stumble, or we have a really bad bunt, our catcher has the ability to give us a 2-2-2 call. But for the most part, if we just can collect an out, we'll collect an out. We'll take an out for 90 feet. That's not something that's going to work out in favor of the opposing team very often. Trading an out for 90 feet is not generally worth it, depending on situation. Okay, so that being said, at that point, our second baseman, who's already been cheated over, he's going to start taking his backup route once again with some depth, so we're not getting overthrown. Our shortstop breaks to the bag in case we do get that 2-2-2 call, and our third baseman is the one crashing here. Okay, our third baseman is the one crashing here. So he can start creeping, right? You can start creeping early. That's something like if you're playing even or in front of the bag, you get a set position. If you see an early show, right? A lot of teams will sack early and show their bunt early. We're creeping hard. We're creeping hard. We're under control, but we're gaining ground toward home plate the best we can prior to that pitch. Because if we can wind up fielding this bunt somewhere in here, we're going to have the ability to get that front side runner. And then depending on the speed of runner here, we might be able to turn that double play. Pretty easy for outfielders. You only have one job, and it's back up, and it's back up the base in front of you. I know, Coach Simon, do you want to get into that a little bit?
Well, right fielders have it pretty easy. They're going to go and back up that play to first base. So they're going to head towards that line. And the key thing is make sure you keep depth. You get in line with them, but you don't want to get too close. You should not end up on the dirt. At the same time, you want to make sure you're not too far away where a guy's going to be able to take an extra base. Center fielders are going to crash in, just straight in. And if there's a play, let's say it's a bunt right back to the pitcher, he's in line to back up that throw to second base. Let's say that ball is bunted to third base and there's a potential play to second base. He's going to be in line with that throw. He's not just going to crash in. He should end up somewhere in right center to back up that play. So hopefully everyone can see that. But that's what that center fielder's doing. And then the left fielder is coming in and towards that line just in case there is a overthrow somewhere and then there's going to be a play at third and it ends up in no man's land. He's just that guy over there. And so you all have something to do. You all also can direct traffic. Since you're seeing stuff, say something. Whatever you see, say it, and don't just spectate.
Tom, Shaw, anything?
Yeah, corner guys, catcher and third baseman, you guys are only switching if the third baseman fields it. Third baseman, if you don't field the bunt, get back and cover third base. Especially if they try to wheel that runner first to third, we want to make sure that we get back there and cover our bag. And then first baseman, just because the pitcher has first base side, don't assume he has any bunt to that side. I know we covered you have hard one over there. A lot of teams will like to try to push bunt in this situation. So we got to make sure that we're anticipating the push bunt. And then once we see that it's something that's a little softer that the pitcher can get to, then we can get back to our bag. But don't just assume that pitcher has everything on that side.
Tom, good?
Yeah, just same idea with the second baseman, making sure, like Coach Simon was talking about, keeping your space. You need to be right inside there as well. You can find yourself somewhere in between you and the first baseman and the right fielder as well. Have we talked about a hard bunt back to third baseman and the catcher and the third baseman flipping?
Yeah, I was going to go into that a little bit more, specifically kind of basing it off of understanding. Hopefully you guys understand a little bit why we are sacked with a runner on first. We're sacking toward the first base side. Obviously, nobody can be overly aggressive on the first base side of the field. First baseman has to hold a runner on. Pitcher obviously has a lot going on, quick to the plate, deliver a strike, and all of that has to happen before he's able to break. But now our third baseman, once he realizes there's a bunt, that third baseman can creep in as far as he wants. So our ability to bunt that ball to first base is huge. But if for whatever reason we do get a bad bunt from an opponent with that third baseman in here, if he gets to field a bunt, if the third baseman fields the bunt at all, it's an automatic switch with our third baseman and our catcher. Okay, because generally we're not going to get the front side runner. So this ball getting thrown from our third baseman, the 5-3 throw, we have to make sure that this runner right here doesn't get to take additional 90 feet. We have to defend that back. Okay. I think it should, once seeing it like this and kind of understanding and talking it through, you can understand why sacking toward the first base side with the runner on first is the way to go here. Any questions, you guys? Like, throw it in the chat. Feel free to throw it in the chat. I will, I'll address it as they come in. I'm sure there's a question here and there, but I know sack ones and bunt, standard bunt defense one is fairly simple.
Play catch.
Right. I'll say this, especially now with the way offenses are being built, a lot of times the bunt is for no reason except to put pressure on a defense. I can tell you, I haven't sacrificed 90 feet for an out in probably 11 years. But unless I have a pretty solid idea that we can create some chaos on that infield and we're not going to get good catch play, doesn't make a ton of sense. Or, I mean, that hitter would have to be pretty anemic as well. So anything else you guys want to add, coaches, before we get into the next one?
Nope, I'm good.
Players, if one of you wants to unmute yourself, if you have any questions, feel free. All right, pretty easy. Okay, now we're going to go through runners at second or first and second. I will say this. Very rare are you going to see a standard bunt with a runner just on second base. Another thing I'm not really big into. I think we've got to be able to hit a ground ball to the right side. But when you start putting runners on first and second, obviously that ground ball to the right side is a little bit different. That ground ball can wind up turning into a 4-6-3. So I'm going to talk about this as if there's runners on second and first. Okay, these are our runners here. Let's use that spot. Once again, first things first, our ability to communicate. Huge. Communicating prior to pitch. Right, so our first communication is going to be from our catcher to our pitcher. Catcher's going to come out, say, hey, pitcher, you got third base side on a bunt. Simple. Look at our first baseman. Catcher looks at our first baseman, says, hey, you got this side on a bunt. So then now for our first baseman, we got to make sure that we're playing in front of the bag, playing in front of that backside runner. With that being said, pitchers, your job too, you don't just listen to your catcher and call it a day. That's something that you've got to reiterate. You look to the third base side. You say, hey, I have this side on a bunt. You look at the first baseman. You reiterate, first base, hey, you've got this side. So go ahead and type it in the chat. What's the only bunt our third baseman's going to field here? Perfect. Lofberg, thank you. Right, that's a catcher talking. I'm glad our catcher knows. Right, so that's one thing. Also, Matt, you're going to be able to reiterate, hey, when you talk to your pitcher, you got that side. Remind your third baseman, hey, you got the hard one. Make sure you know you got the hard bunt. Okay? Both our catchers chime in. We don't have anybody else that can chime in. Thank goodness. You guys are the ones that have to direct traffic. I worry about some of you other guys. But pretty simple at that point. That's the communication, catcher to pitcher, catcher to first base, pitcher to third base, pitcher to first base. Now, what's one thing we can do here? And go ahead and type it in the chat. What's one thing we can do here to help gather information? Right. Okay. Important. Speed of runners is huge. Understanding our reds, yellows, and greens. Body language is a good one. Awesome. That's one I gave you guys. I know it's something I love doing as a coach. I call it all the time. A horns 2. Someone type in the chat what a horns 2 is. Inside move. Oh, coach, what the heck? I was all pumped up that somebody got it right.
No.
But Coach Tommy, were you not sure, Tom? Are you like, is that a question? Okay. So inside moves are huge, guys. Inside moves in this situation are big. It's different with the runner on first. The quick pick for righties just doesn't sell it quite as well as an inside move or as a left-handed pick to first works. So calling an inside move in this situation is big. That once again will help you. We talk about body language, you talk about speed of runners, but a lot of times you'll see that hitter slide a hand, show bunt early, move his feet up in the box as soon as that pitcher lifts his leg to initiate a delivery to home plate. You'll get a lot of information. A lot of times too, you show that the first time. Now that runner at second base is going to shorten up just a little bit. Okay, any pick at second base is gonna encourage that base runner to shorten up a hair. And you guys know the speed of the game is fast enough to the point where any step matters. Every step matters. So being able to hold him a little bit closer to the bag is going to be important. So being able to run those picks right is not just to pick to get an out. We're picking to shorten up runners. We're picking to try to make that guy be a little bit more conservative. Okay. So now for a pitcher, most important thing he can do right here.
Type it in the chat.
Players only.
Perfect. 2 pitchers right there. Throw a strike. Once that strike is thrown, if we get a bunt through, what are we looking for? Perfect. Catcher got it. Back pick. Either one. We're back picking either side. So with that being said, we'll go through this a little bit. We throw the strike to the plate. We're going to have, again, our first baseman creeping in for the first base side. Pitcher, create depth toward the line. We are not going to crash hard line. We're going to create depth to the line. Okay, third baseman stays there unless he gets his hard bunt. Our second baseman is going to need to work over to first and communicate bag and ball calls there. Okay, if our first baseman can get back to the bag, let's say our pitcher fields this bunt, our first baseman starts crashing and he can work back to the bag. Let's let our first baseman receive that throw here. If for whatever reason he can't get back there in time, our second baseman needs to be there. There has to be talk. There has to be communication. I've seen first baseman and second baseman here, a throw made by a pitcher in between both of the guys on top of the bag, go down the right field line. Anyone on our 2023 national team should probably remember that. I remember exactly who was involved, all 3 of you guys, but I won't get into that. Okay, but there has to be a bag call here, definite communication, who's on the bag, who's taking it, who's covering it. Shortstop breaking to second, looking for a potential backside throw. If we're not able to get the front side guy, but maybe it's something hard back to you, we can go a 1-6-3 double play there. But we'll need a guy at second base just to make sure we're defending that back. Outfielders, what do you got, Simon?
Outfielders, right fielders backing up that play at first base. Again, with good depth. The center fielder is backing up the play, potential play at second. Or if something just weird happens. And then the left fielder is heading into that Bermuda Triangle area out there. Simple.
Coaches, what else you guys got?
That's pretty good.
Nothing.
Any questions with any of that?
There's one thing. This is a bunt defense. So understand that if they do bunt, this is what's going to take place. But remember what Saturday's practice taught us: games are fluid. So if they don't bunt and it's a swing and it's a base hit, you have those responsibilities. So there's a lot that you have to process and think about. So making sure you don't take these little things for granted is important, that you study this up, because there's a lot of information for a second baseman to have to go through. And if he's thinking about it during that play, that's just going to be way too much. And he's going to be late or not remember. So get your homework done early. Get it done early. Study up on this. There's a lot.
How about let's go over some characteristics. What situations are we bunting? Give me some ideas on when, not necessarily when we're bunting, but when we're going to need to defend a bunt. Chat it up, boys. Nobody knows when we're going to have to defend a bunt? Close game. Beautiful. You're talking one-run game? Okay. I would say probably not, Ryan, that's decent. Probably not going to see a bunt with one out. Not going to see a sac bunt with one out, because we can assume that if you're sacrificing, that you're giving up an out. So in order to move those guys up 90 feet with two outs and not being able to score a guy without a hit tends to be even less reliable on offense. You want to be able to get these guys in scoring position, specifically that runner to third base with less than two. So I would stick with 0 outs. What are some other characteristics? Close game, 0 outs. These are both good ones. I'll sit. I'm comfortable. I'll wait. I want wrong answers too. I'm okay with wrong answers. That's a good one. That's a good one. I would say, Ayush, I'll give you some credit. You know, the other team can't hit, right? There's not a whole lot of offense going. You have to create some offense. Sometimes the best offense is the other team's defense. That's not a bad one. I would say even so. Who are the guys that, like, if we're I'm going to use Ayush's terms, that can't hit? Where do they normally hit? Bottom of the order. Beautiful. I'm not bunting guys first and second with your 3-hole up unless your entire team can't hit, like Ayush established. We're going to assume that 3-hole, that 4-hole, that 5-hole hitter is not going to be bunting in these situations. Okay. We're assuming it's going to be the bottom of the order, 7, 8, 9. Another characteristic, if they do bunt at the top of the order, is generally because what do they have at the top of the lineup? What's a characteristic of those players at the top? Beautiful. Okay, good. Oh, I see. Okay, so some of our fast guys start answering a little bit. A couple center fielders, Morgan, Algarin. I see you guys. Hunter. And then Matheson, known for his speed. He knows what's up. He knows what's up. Okay, good answers. Oh, Reese wants to chime in. Love it. If you got speed at the top, it makes sense. If you got speed at the top, it makes sense in other situations. Not necessarily because you can't hit, because the pressure that you wind up putting on a defense can sometimes be your best offense. So all good answers. All good answers. What else we got? Coaches, you want to add anything? We don't have to drag this thing out if we nailed it.
No, pretty good. One other thing to pre-pitch is if the batter pops the bunt up, we got to know as a base runner in that situation, we're probably freezing. So that gives us another chance to get the lead runner.
Coach Tom, what do you got other than all the answers? Simo?
Play catch.
Okay. So you guys are giving me pretty decent answers. Obviously, y'all don't have any questions, so this is something we're going to cover first and thirds on Sunday, and we will cover bunt defenses on Sunday. So all you guys hopefully can make it out. No excuses now that you guys can't just use the facility. You guys need to get as much field time as possible. Like I said, I am trying to work on another field that at least we can use on the weekends. But even trying to sneak on a couple days during the week, it would probably be some earlier times because obviously darkness affects our ability to be on the field. But I can tell you guys we're working hard to try to figure out how to get you guys working. We're working on trying to utilize that back space in the parking lot. You guys have all seen that like field area in the back. We are talking to the owners of that field, trying to find a way to get on the field, to clean it up, to build some cages. If we can do that, at the same time, as we wait for that, we've already ordered cages to hopefully put up in the parking lot. So we aren't messing around, guys. We're going to try to figure out a way that allows you guys to get your work in and not skip a beat. I mean, so that's what we're trying to do. Hopefully we get that up in the next week or so, because obviously I don't think anybody really knows exactly when we're going to be able to get back in here and start working together in groups. So in the meantime, just a reminder with your calendars, if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of a calendar, like, hey, coach, I don't have a calendar, or I don't know what the heck the calendar is, stay on after this. And we'll find a way to get you guys the calendar, find a way to get you guys all that information so you guys can start working off of that. But then the rest of you understand the calendars are back in play, something that we'll talk about a little bit more as this goes on. So probably I'm going to give you guys at least 1 week before we even mention the calendars again. So the next time we'd even talk about it would be next Tuesday if that's what we wind up doing. But just stay on top of that stuff. Like I said, stay on if you don't have a calendar or you don't know what I'm talking about, or you need some help with it, and I'll find a way to get you the info. So other than that, if you guys are good, you feel comfortable where you're at, no questions on bunt defense, no questions on calendar, you guys are free to go. Have a great Thanksgiving. Obviously, we're not going to be in here on Thursday either. No Zooms on Thursday. So have a great Thanksgiving, whatever it is you're doing or whatever it is you're able to do with your families. And then we will plan on seeing you guys at least on a Zoom Tuesday, but all y'all should be at practice Sunday. Know your times. If you don't know your time for practice Sunday, stay on. I will answer that question as well. All right, guys.